Welcome to the ODD Collective Radio Show, and where the agendas are only to tell our stories our way. Where an eclectic group of hosts deliver a different show every Sunday. The show is produced by Ever Beyond Radio and broadcasted over Wolf Spirit Radio Network. Thank you for joining us. Welcome to our worlds.
Hi, welcome. You are listening to It's Your Life, Live It to the Fullest. I am your host, Joyce Wheeler, and today is Sunday, June 26, 2016. Unfortunately, I am not on my normal device, so you're just going to have to bear with me here. I've been having some technical issues. So if you'd hold on a minute, I would like to go ahead and just read you a short bio on my guest. I'm just going to pull that up.
Joyce, do you want to just back? You can back off a little bit from the tablet. It's picking up your voice.
Really?
Yeah, it's picking up your voice very well.
Okay.
You don't need to shout at it. You just need to just speak normally.
Because oh snap. Okay.
Micheila, if you could back off your microphone a little bit, I can hear your breath.
Oh, okay.
Thank you.
Wow, is that better?
Yeah, that's much better.
Okay.
Okay, hold on. Let me just bring up Micheila's bio. I should have had this all done.
You could just ask her. Just say hello.
Okay, Micheila, you want to give us your bio?
Hi, Joyce. Thank you.
Hi, Micheila.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for being on.
Wow, I've never been asked to do my own bio before. It's a little scary. But yeah, I'm an intuitive channel. Not exactly what I thought I would be doing with my life, that's for sure. But I fell into this role. I believe I have a mission here on this planet, and that is to bring messages through me from teachers, masters, higher dimensional beings for our ascension and to support our ascension. And that's what I've been doing for the past, I guess, five or so years now.
So, share a little bit about how you got started with doing this, because I find that a very fascinating story.
Absolutely. Are you hearing me okay? I keep adjusting my microphone.
I hear you fine. Just perfect.
Good. Okay. Well, yeah, as I mentioned, this wasn't exactly what I had intended to do with my life. I was a mainstream mom, and in the mainstream world, I got a degree in marketing and public relations and lived a very mainstream life, had two girls, two daughters, and very early on, with my first child, decided to leave the business world behind, which was very successful for me. I was a director of marketing for an environmental firm, and stay at home. I traded off all of that for, the diaper bag and loved it, really loved that life. I delved in with open arms. I was a volunteer maniac. I ran everything under the sun. I was the PTA vice president. I ran the Girl Scout troops, the neighborhood social committee, you name it, I did it. And what happened was my spiritual awakening, or my awakening to this mission that I had here on the planet, came during a struggle with chronic pain. As many of us awaken to our spiritual gifts during a difficult time in our lives, that was a very difficult time for me. And it was right about the time of the birth of my second daughter, or shortly after that, actually, I had started experiencing some pain in my low back, leg, and hip. And, I was on this what I call hamster wheel of Western medicine, where every year you get your insurance card and you go to the doctor, and with renewed hope, and would be clear to me by that, February, March of that year that things were not getting any better. I was given all kinds of tests and prescriptions, like diagnosis and medications, but nothing was helping me. And I lived in this, so I tell the story that, because I truly believe in divine timing. I believe that we have a record within, and that record gets triggered, and we have ascension codes that trigger that record. And I believe I had a very important ascension code that was triggered in my life. And there was a pending move that I was looking at, that my family was going to make from one side of town to the other. And was really digging in my heels in resistance. I did not want to make this move. And the reason for that was I lived in this really great cushy neighborhood where everyone knew about my condition, this pain that I was in, and I had all this support around me. I had people offering to go to the grocery store and get me food, when I needed it, or, oh, let me get your kids off the bus, or whatever it may be, if I was having a rough day. And so I ended up making this move and found myself in a new neighborhood on a different side of town that was quite the opposite. And I couldn't make anything work in this neighborhood to save my life. I tried to be that PTA vice president and, nobody liked me. I tried to make friends. Nobody wanted to be my friend. I didn't have any support. And I really feel like that was a time in my life when I was forced to take a hard look at myself in the mirror. I was 40 years old. I was on a variety of pain medications, anti-inflammatories, had even been prescribed antidepressants, and was washing it down with alcohol almost every night. I had increased this chronic pain with the stress of this move to the point where I was actually having my nerves ablated every 6 months, meaning I was having my nerves severed, medically, so that I wasn't feeling this pain. And I had actually stopped driving. I was afraid to drive my own children because I had such numbness at this point in my legs that, I was afraid for my children's safety. And so this new neighborhood, very synchronistically enough, exposed me to some Eastern philosophy that I had never been exposed to or considered before, such as meditation. And I started to research meditation as it came into my awareness, finding out that it was a tool I could use to help myself disconnect from the pain, and that the stress I was having was obviously making the pain worse. And I thought that was worth a shot at that point because nothing else was working for me. And I started to meditate actually very regularly, and found that I was having some amazing results. Now mind you, I didn't do this for any type of spiritual practice or spiritual growth. That was the last thing on my mind. It was really all physical for me and physical pain, but I adopted this very religious meditation practice where morning, noon, and night for at least 15, 20 minutes a day, I was going into a deep meditation. And I noticed some really interesting things starting to happen. Of course, my pain was subsiding a little bit. I was noticing in my world, and to be honest with you, I didn't notice fully until I got to the other side of it. Things were starting to appear for me that were the tools I needed to get better. But in addition to that, I was starting to hear things. And, we always think our brain is making it up, our mind is making it up. I was starting to hear things in my mind, and I thought, I need to quiet my mind more. Right. I'm not a good meditator. But what I began to notice as well when I was outside of my meditation times, just walking about my day, I would hear things in conversation with people that I didn't think they said out loud. And that's what really got me. I would be in the grocery store and run into someone who was just a casual contact, not even a close friend. And we'd be having a, casual conversation. And in that conversation, I would hear something very personal. And I would think, did they really say that to me? I would get home and scratch my head because I wouldn't respond to it. But when I get home, I would question myself and think, why didn't I respond to that? And that didn't even fit into the conversation. And did they really say that to me out loud? And so all of this really culminated for me in one event that threw me into channeling for good. And that was Christmas 2010. And I was having a big dinner party at my house. I have two siblings, a brother and sister, and I'm the oldest, so I always have everyone to my house for dinner. And I was making a recipe that I often made. It was a beef tenderloin. I don't eat meat anymore, but it was something that I did then. And there was a recipe that I used that had some very special ingredients that I don't typically have in the house. So I got up that morning, ready to make this recipe, excited for the day, went to the pantry, opened the door, and realized that I had forgotten to purchase these very key ingredients that I needed for this recipe. And it's Christmas morning, so nothing's open. All the stores are closed on the holiday. And I remember actually calling the local gas station, knowing they'd have some grocery items on the shelf, thinking, okay, surely I can find something, and they didn't have anything. So I was on a stool pushing things around, looking for something similar, didn't find anything. And as this is happening, I'm getting a little stressed because here I've got all these people coming over. And stress to me at that point equaled pain. And my practice was straight to meditation. So I told the kids, Mom needs a few minutes. And I went into the bedroom and I closed the door. And I went into a very deep meditation that day. But what happened next forever changed my life. I heard a male voice as if in the room with me. And it was very loud. And there were only 3 words that were spoken. And those words were, I am Jacob. And it shook me out of the meditation because it was so loud. And I tried to communicate back thinking, who is this Jacob? What can I find out? And I didn't get anywhere that day. But what I did notice was I had this very blissful, peaceful, buzzy energy about me. Any stress was gone. As a matter of fact, I thought this was absolutely silly. I could salt and pepper this thing. I don't know what I was so stressed out about. So I walked out of the door with renewed joy to make this Christmas meal. Went to the pantry and opened the door. And there on the shelf in a very neat row right in front of my eyes in 3 sealed containers were the 3 ingredients that I needed for the recipe. And so I was quite pleased and amazed and joyful that I had manifested something into my physical reality, but didn't share it with a soul. Made the meal, actually remember it being a really great day, and kind of put it out of my mind for a while because I didn't want to deal with what happened. But what it did do was it piqued my curiosity. And I wanted to know more. I wanted to know who this Jacob was and what I was hearing and what was happening in my life. And I just delved in after that with open arms.
I'm sorry, I was writing something down. I was talking to JP briefly before he brought you on, and he was talking, and this is kind of like sort of off topic a bit. It is, but it isn't. He was talking about timeline shift that happened Thursday.
Okay, so I think that on Thursday he's talking in relationship to the solstice, right?
I don't know. He was just like, did you feel it? Did you have any kind of emotions? And then they were gone, and I was like, well, considering that I'm in emotional state these days, I can't say for sure.
Yeah. Well,
maybe later we'll talk about it, but yeah, there's been a shifting. Lots of people are sensitive to the kind of higher vibrations, not necessarily those people who are like, immersed in the morass of like left versus right, all that wing flapping stuff. But those who are who are still calm, and there is just a very small and very decreasing number of people who are still calm, who are not polarized. If you can remain unpolarized, then you can feel these things as they happen. And what we found is that taking a sleep in the middle of the day when you don't normally do, or feeling really tired and then going to sleep, and waking up hot or sweating or something, and that's a new timeline.
I'm a true believer in that. Yeah, I mean, there's so much happening on the planet right now. I think it goes beyond Thursday, but I agree. I have actually felt that shift. I feel lighter. I feel surges of energy. I feel like there's been a lot of density that's been dropped. And, this really goes back more than a couple of months, actually. I think it goes all the way back to March, when we had the solar eclipse. The guides that I work with have been saying that that's been a really significant shift in Mother Earth Gaia's frequency. And we re-plugged into that really strongly back in March. And we've been bringing up density like crazy, since that solar eclipse. And our structures have been changing as well internally. And I've noticed, I do a lot of private clients, and it's been the same story. We are vibrating faster right now, and in response to the shifts on the planet. And what's happened is we can no longer hold on to those things in our physical reality that were the material things that had a lot of density or had ties to the third dimension or even third dimensional programs. So for us, this has been relationships. Sometimes people have lost the way that they were earning money, right? Financial abundance in the world, or career shifts and changes. even healers that had been, aligned with their soul and doing work on the planet, their missions here are changing, and they're wondering why. And we really went through this clearing / what I call holding pattern. And I do feel like we are now turning that corner by which a lot of that density has been pulled away from us, and we're going to start moving forward pretty fast again. And I feel that. And the guys that I work with have been talking about July and August being very pivotal months for how that's going to manifest in our physical reality. So yeah, I agree with you. Energetically, I feel that as well.
Well, Micheila, we have a caller that has called in already, but we also...
Yeah, I haven't let them in yet, but you'll know when they call in.
Right, but there's also somebody in the chat who asked a question. They said that if reincarnation is real, who do mediums speak with?
Great question. I should channel on this one because I feel like the guides would answer it better than me, but I'll do a little bit of both. When a medium is connecting with an energy, that is an energy of the soul. So we are expressing ourselves through our soul in many lives, many experiences simultaneously. And I know that's hard for us to understand because we have parallel timelines running. We have past, present, and future experiences that are ongoing in this very moment because we perceive as human beings a linear timeline. And really there is no linear time, but that's the way our physical bodies are designed to organize our experiences. Right. So even though an expression of that soul comes back into a physical body, that doesn't mean that you can't connect with the energy of that soul in another timeline. I guess that's the way I would explain that, right? Because
that makes sense.
Right. Because for me as a channel, it's possible to tap into past, present, and future lives of the clients that I have. And the reason for that is their energy is expressing itself multidimensionally. We are multidimensional beings, so we exist on a variety of different planes and realities and timelines. And that energy doesn't leave. It doesn't end. It's infinite. So you can tap into a soul that has passed here incarnate, and that a part of that energy of that soul or that consciousness is now existing in another timeline as well.
That makes perfect sense.
Yeah, right. It makes sense. I know it's hard to grasp onto, but it definitely, when you think about it that way, it makes a lot of sense.
Oh yeah, I mean that's a perfect way of explaining it, considering that we're all energy. That it's like tapping into that energy of that person and of who they were before.
Yeah, and that's the key. I think we have to turn on that switch where we're thinking about the energy. We consider ourselves confined by these physical bodysuits that we're in, but really these physical bodysuits, this incarnation is a manifestation of our energy, and we're creating it anew in every moment. So when we go beyond thinking about the physical and we go into the non-physical, we can see how easily we can tap into that other timeline. And really, I've been getting into a lot of information lately about the transition that we're in, and it's this difficult holding pattern or holding space we were referring to a moment ago. The guides and collectives that I work with call it the fourth dimension. And what's happening there is we're really integrating our higher self, or what sometimes the guides call the oversoul, which is the seer of all of our timelines, because we're expressing energy in all of these various timelines and dimensions. And even though we don't have knowledge of it, because we are perceiving just this one singular incarnate physical life, it doesn't mean that that information isn't available to us to use and somehow connects with what we're doing here, because it all interconnects through a web of consciousness, right? So that other life that you have going on, that parallel life, that expression of your consciousnness, it has in some way an effect on what you're doing here in this life.
Right, exactly. I'm trying to figure out, JP, you posted something in the Skype from Facebook. Do you want me to read it to Micheila, or do you want to read it?
Yeah, I mean, if you like. It's just as I, was just flicking through, and it just came up as we started talking here, and it was just spot on, so I thought I'd just copy and paste it.
Okay, so this came from Facebook like 14 minutes ago.
Yep.
Someone says, anyone else feel that big, beautiful shift last night? Around 12:45, I woke up to a beautiful mini sonic boom, ripple of love and energy. It was a shifting of frequency.
That isn't something that I felt last night, so I don't, as a physical being, I'm not connecting with that. But what I would say is we are all unique in how we're experiencing the ascension timeline. And so I don't want to negate what that person experienced, because that is so beautiful. But what I notice with a lot of people that come to me is that they read that stuff on Facebook and they say, what's wrong with me? I didn't feel any big sonic boom. As a matter of fact, it was a really crummy day for me.
Right.
So we have to consider that we are so unique in our own singular ascension, and we're connected to a collective timeline of ascension. And the way we experience this has a lot to do with our own individual ascension codes and things that are triggered within us. And there are reasons we're meant to experience these things and experience these timelines. And others are experiencing it differently at their own pace and in their own way. And that may have been an event that was designed. I think we're going through a variety of different events here on the planet through which we have support from higher dimensional beings that are upgrading our frequency, that are assisting us right now. And those that are sensitive to that, right, or who have higher strand DNA might tap into that differently. And someone who might not have felt it that way energetically might just be brought to more information in their life, right? They might wake up the next day and have, something happen that is the catalyst for taking them somewhere new. It's really so unique in how we experience these things. But, what the guides have been telling me is that the planetary alignments lately have been the catalyst for these changes. We know that the solar energies, the lunar energies, these things that we've been experiencing, they're part of our record here. And when they align with the earth, there are portals that are opened. And in those portals, there's more information available to us. Mother Earth herself, she's a living, breathing being, and we are connected to her. And in this March alignment that I talked about, this solar eclipse, we plugged back into her in a new way. And what that did was that allowed us to use her as a portal more expansively. She's raised her frequency, and now we are able to feel and experience these upgrades, I think, more physically as well as non-physically. And what I've noticed a lot of people talking about lately is contact. That's been a big focus with the guides that I work with. We talk about disclosure, right, on the planet. We're going to have disclosure. And we all have this idea that disclosure is going to be so physical. We're going to see all these ships landing and, beings walking the earth. But what the guides I work with say is it's really more internal and telepathic. And that's where it's starting. It's starting within us. And I notice more and more people are starting to telepathically exchange with higher vibrational beings, especially during these interactions with the sun and the moon and, these higher vibrational energies. And, it can feel sometimes very, I want to say dreamlike or, surely my mind made that up because it was such a lucid type of experience and not so physical. But this is the way it's going to start. More of us are going to be able to travel that way. Our light bodies are activated to travel that way more. Yeah. So if you're not perceiving those energies the same way, the worst thing you can do is look in the mirror and blame yourself and say, what's wrong with me? I'm obviously not on the ascension timeline. Well, no, you're just feeling it and interpreting it differently than others.
Well, and the thing is too, it's like we were talking about Friday, we're all on a different path. So the way that one person experiences a shift, somebody else might not experience it the same way, because for somebody else it might be like, oh snap, what the frick is happening?
Yeah.
So, with some people it might have to be a gentle coax, something that's very minute and hardly noticeable, and they're going, maybe they're thinking to myself, wow, I just feel so great today. I don't know what it is. I don't know why, but I just feel really, really good.
Right.
Maybe have an explanation. This other person, on the other hand, is experiencing this sonic boom, and she's going, whoa, check this out. This is awesome.
Exactly. We all have density that we're filtering these experiences through. And What's interesting right now that's happening that I notice, and it aligns with the planetary astrology as well, is that more people are coming into the awakening that they're here to do something bigger. And the guides that I work with talk a lot about ascension codes. So, when we decided to incarnate here from light or, whatever that was, we decided on an incarnation date. At the soul level, we came here, we incarnated on a specific date, and the planets align around that incarnation date. And when the planets align with a certain ascension code, it activates a part of our record. So I've had a lot of people coming to me in private session lately saying, my gosh, I know I'm here to do something bigger and I haven't done it yet and I'm out of time. They're beating themselves up that, maybe they're in their 40s, 50s, whatever it may be. And they say, I didn't accomplish my mission, my goal. And, what the guys are saying is, now's the time. People are being activated right now. They are triggering those ascension codes that align with the soul that we couldn't have done it before now. And the reason for that goes into, some of the information I've downloaded about where we're headed as a planet. And right now there is the beginnings of what the guides call the splitting of the timelines here, by which we're going to be existing in two separate realities. One that is a third dimensional reality and one that is a fifth dimensional reality. And there were so many of us that came seeing that potential to assist in some way. And a lot of these light workers, I call them, are being activated right now because now's the time. It wasn't time prior. I truly believe in divine timing, and we arrived here in a density that there was a lot of programming, there was a lot of stuff that kept us from the truth. But we've done a lot of work, and the planet's ascended, we've ascended, and I think it all fits with what's happening right now.
Right. They're in the chat and they're kind of talking about the topic. It's very interesting. What I want to do is they're calling you a medium, but you channel. What's the difference? Is there a difference between a medium and a channeler?
I believe that there is. For the sake of definition, really we're just accessing spiritual energies in different ways. So yes, I can do both actually. I believe that I am here to be a channel, and what channels do is they are acting as a vessel for spiritual energies. So when I am channeling, I am opening myself up and allowing an entity or a being of higher dimension to access my energy, use my voice, my hands, my eyes, concepts flow through me. I'm a trance channel for the most part. I can do both. I can be a conscious or a trance channel, but what that means is I really step my consciousness outside of the equation, and I often don't remember things that are said. I'm often pretty darn amazed. Oh yeah. When I channel often I do live lectures here in the Detroit area, and I'll channel for an hour and a half, and I don't recall much of what was said. I equate it to, playing baseball. The more you practice, the better you get. I mean, obviously I've done this so much now that I walk away with a general gist of what was spoken about. But when I listen back, I'm often amazed at the detail and the things that come through. I can also consciously channel, so I can ask a question of those guides and I can get an answer, or I can write consciously as I'm channeling. But what a medium, I really classify a medium as someone who is having that two-way conversation, usually with a soul who has passed, like we talked about earlier, the consciousness or the expression of an incarnate soul that has passed. And it really is more of a two-way conversation where your consciousness is highly involved and you're able to ask the question, get the answer, have a dialogue with that being, right? And usually those beings, I feel, are in like a lower level astral plane. They're not, those higher dimensional, interdimensional beings. That's just kind of the way I classify a medium. They're working more with those incarnate souls and those expressions of consciousness, right?
Right. Okay. Now tell us about the many channels that you channel. You've got the
right.
What is it? The Council of Light.
The Council of Light. Yeah. Well, I'll go back to Jacob, and I had finished that story, because what I came to find out was Jacob was actually a past life connection to me, because I channeled him and asked him, why would he come to me? Who is he? Why would he speak to me and through me? And what he said was we had actually experienced a past life together, and he was a small boy and he was lost. And I took him in, I fed him, I clothed him, I cared for him in that life. And he came back indebted to me in this life to help me rediscover this gift and actually act kind of like a gatekeeper. Some people recognize that term gatekeeper. It's a very special spirit guide that you have that helps bring in the others. And that's really who he was for me. And I always thought he would be here. But very interestingly enough, one day out of the blue, he popped in and said his work with me was done. And about that time, because I felt like I had raised my consciousness and my vibration, I had started working with a variety of other guides. And when I first started channeling, I was working with a lot of archangels. So I was working with Archangel Michael and Archangel Metatron, a lot with Mary Magdalene. Mary Magdalene was a big part of my journey early on. But I also started working with collectives. So as soon as Jacob split, I call it, I had already started working with a collective energy that calls themselves Jeremiah. And I asked, who they were, who he was, and he steps forward from that collective, and he did tell me that he was indeed the prophet Jeremiah, which I was pretty amazed. I said, why would the prophet Jeremiah speak through me? I had a Catholic upbringing. I really don't remember any of this stuff. And what he told me was his journey in his time in the Bible, it was very representative of the journey light workers would go through. And that part of my mission here on the planet was to help light workers. Yeah. To walk through a very difficult time. And what I found out about him was he had actually received a message from God. And in the Bible, it makes it sound as if it was a channeled message. It was like the Lord put this word within him, and he was meant to go out into the world and share this message, which was about the destruction of Jerusalem, which was pretty symbolic, or I guess similar to what I was told to do early on and did not want to do it. And he had a difficult path and journey. And I still connect with him, and there were several others. St. Thomas of Aquinas was another who, again, Catholic priest. I thought, why would I channel a Catholic priest? But in the time of the church, unlike many others, he really embraced a lot of ideas about natural law and metaphysics, and he was really into, common law, and, believed that truth really wasn't something that had to have, a basis in science, right? So I found that very interesting. But really I am a very open channel, Joyce. The way I channel, as I raised my consciousness and as I connected more and I was just more intentional in this, I started to connect with interdimensionals or extraterrestrials before I even believed in them. I really didn't believe.
What was that like?
What a crazy time in my life, right? It wasn't something I really wanted to take to the PTA bake sale, and talk about. I really did this in my closet for a long time. I was not happy or interested in bringing this out to the world because I wasn't comfortable with it myself. So what ended up happening was, I did heal myself. Just to go back to the story, I completely healed myself of chronic pain through this journey. And I wouldn't say it was because I channeled the answer. At the time I didn't know I could actually ask my guides, how do I heal? What do I need to do? But I was so connected with Source and my vibration was so high. I look back on that time in my life and there is no other way that path could have unfolded for me so beautifully. I was led to, a practitioner who had the exact experience that I needed, and I got a diagnosis, and then I ended up, at a nutritionist who just happened to be taking the last person for free when I couldn't pay for it. And, along the way, I dropped all of my meds. I'm 100% pain-free today and probably in the best shape of my life. But what happened was I just raised my vibration through that experience so much that I started connecting outside of myself to these higher dimensions, these collectives, these extraterrestrials, and they were such loving beings that it was easy for me to accept them into my world. And what I say is the message got bigger than me. I started out this journey questioning why me? Who am I? And I was told, there's going to be a time when people need to see someone like you, this mainstream mom who, looks like the woman next door who's channeling extraterrestrials, and that I had a mission here on the planet. And I wasn't real happy about that. I fought back for a long time, but the messages that started coming through me became so profound that I felt I couldn't, I was doing a disservice to humanity in some way. I thought, I went from, it was the journey of, from who am I to who am I not, right? To put this stuff out there. I really had to be convinced to listen back to I started recording myself on my iPhone, which really blew my mind, because early on I would really take on the identity of these beings and my voice would change. So if I was channeling a male being, my voice would get very low or deep. If I was channeling an angelic female presence, my voice would get very high. I would speak in ways that were not me, about things that I don't know about. And when I listened back to those recordings, I was just completely convinced that, it wasn't me. But I ended up attracting a beautiful support system around me that really held my hand and said, you need to put this stuff out there. And the more I did, it just aligned so much with my soul. I knew it was the right thing to do.
Okay, you've got another question?
Yeah.
If we are all just projections of a soul spirit energy in all of our apparent incarnations, is that soul spirit energy just an aspect of a larger identity? And she says, I don't mean a road back to God.
Well, absolutely. You are a one collective. So as a one collective, you are functioning always as a part of that energy. So at the soul level, absolutely, you are a God presence. And that God presence is within you. And I know there's some resistance there on the acceptance of that, right? But when we operate within the structure, let's talk about what that is and who we are as beings. Because we at the soul level, what the soul is it's an accumulation of energy and timelines. And our higher self is the seer of those timelines. And when we put that all together, that's source energy. In the center of that is our source energy. So when we have a singular experience, that singular experience has always an effect on the collective. And that singular experience is always a reflection of what's going on in the collective. This has been the topic lately. Everyone's been asking. We've been talking about timelines and how we are creators. But energetically, every thought that we have, every time that we have a thought, and that thought evokes emotion in us, we imprint a timeline or a potential timeline within our field. And at the soul level, that becomes a possibility for us to manifest. But when we look at it realistically, that manifestation of that timeline has to have a basis somewhere. And that basis is the collective energy that we are connected to. We affect it and it affects us. We're mirrors to that, right? So the guides talk about our structure. We think, again, we are confined by this bodysuit, this skin that we're in, but they define the structure as everything. And as a matter of fact, they give a beautiful example. We think about our oceans on this planet and the planetary body that we inhabit as being physically separate from us. That ocean over there is contaminated, right? Of Fukushima, we can give as an example. Well, if I'm not standing in that ocean, if I'm not drinking from that ocean or eating the fish from that ocean, it doesn't affect me. But that's not the case. That's not the reality. That ocean is a part of us. At the cellular level, that's who we are and that's how we operate. Right? So when you think of it that way energetically, everything is within us and we are within it. At the soul, we are categorizing our physical experience of this incarnation. And that physical experience has meaning and has weight. But we came here to serve the collective through our individual experience. So each of these timelines that we're creating through our thoughts have a connection somewhere historically within our DNA or our genetics, both here and cosmically. I know this is getting really complicated. I hope this is making sense. But if I bring it down to the basic level, at the soul level, our experience as an incarnate being is really due to where our perception and our creative energy are taking us. And that perception, that creative energy, we have free will as a soul. to do that, right? But there's an oversoul, there's a oneness, there's a one collective that is the human race and beyond. You know, we are one with all of it. We are nature as beings. So, you know, you think about the tree that's implanted in the earth. You know, it takes the water from the earth. It takes the nutrients from the earth. It gives us oxygen. It's a circular process. It's not just serving one thing. It's serving everything, and everything is serving it. You know, that's what we are. That's what we are in this incarnate physical form. We just chose to come this way in this expression of our consciousness.
Right. We have a caller on the line.
Yeah.
Welcome, caller. You have a question for Micheila?
Yes. Hi. Is this me?
That's you.
Hi.
Oh, hi. Micheila, hi. It's Rachel.
Hi.
Hi. You know, I just have a question about why I am right now right outside of Sedona, Arizona, when I live in California and was there looking for a new place to live, and suddenly I ended up here, and I've been here for over a month now. What's happening? And I know I'm on track, but I would love to know a little bit more about it.
Yeah, what the guides are showing me, the portals there are calling you. I mean, they're just visually showing me that your body is using those portals to anchor into the earth and receive upgrades for what your collective assignment is in this life. And I do feel a deep connection to the Pleiades for you. So the Pleiadian energies come in really strongly. But the guides want to use this as an opportunity to explain something bigger. And what you're doing here is very supported by the energies. So if you're allowing yourself to go with this new and higher vibrational speed of energy, there doesn't have to be a rhyme or reason, right? We know that it's taking us exactly where we belong. So what I see is that you're allowing this experience in Sedona to teleport or telecommunicate with some type of message or some type of an activation that you need at the soul level in order to do your work. And that's really assembling in you right now. I don't feel like it's time for it to manifest, but it's like information, you know, when it's they're equating it to the example that we had earlier, that Jay gave about, you know, the rest period. Sometimes we rest, we feel like we need to sleep, and then we wake up and it feels like we're anew. You know, that's what's going on with you. And in those moments, what we're doing is we're actually downloading and storing information. And that information is having an effect on us structurally. It just wasn't time yet, but I feel like you've been there in response to that. And in addition to that, I kind of feel like there's an experience you're yet to have there that's going to be very profound in as catalyst of your ascension. So hang on, because something is going to, yes, there's definitely a reason that you're going to stick around a little longer.
Okay. So, all right. But I'm not living here. You feel like I'll be returning. I don't know where I want to live, honestly. It's like everything's up in the air. I'm just so open to it all.
Can I share something? I just want to share something with the caller, because I'm feeling what she's saying, because, you know, we moved to Louisiana from Tennessee, and when we came to look for houses here, we just landed up in a small little podunk town. And it was like no rhyme or reason. It's not like we put it at a map and went, oh, we're going to go here. It wasn't like that at all. It just seemed to be like kind of in the area where we were looking to buy a house. And we had looked at other houses in different areas. And I remember going to one specific town, and my husband and I just looked at each other and we just went, we don't belong here. And then we landed up actually moving into this little bitty town that we now live in. And I really feel that we are put where we are put for a reason, for a time, and for a purpose. Just like now, I want to go back to Tennessee. But I told my husband I could feel it. The time is not right. There is something I'm supposed to do here. I don't know what, but I can feel it. There's something I need to do here before I can go back to Tennessee. So I think what you need to do is just trust what the guides, the angels, the universe, whatever, however you view it, and just realize that you are put where you are put for a specific reason, even if you don't understand why. Because I totally understand what you're talking about.
Go ahead. I was just going to say it's a common thread right now, how you were saying, I'm here, but I don't really have an anchor. I don't have a plan. Well, hold on. Like we were talking about earlier, the months of July and August are going to reveal a lot of that plan to you. Don't expect for the answer to come all in one day, right? We're slowly keeping up with the speed of Mother Gaia, and what the beings have told me that I work with is that we're actually resonating at a speed that is slower right now than what Mother Gaia has raised to, which is really unique because we're meant to resonate with her Schumann resonance, but it's fluctuated, it's been up and down, but it's raised to a point now where we're catching up. And this is the point where we're going to start catching up. And that's why things have been slowed. But what I find really beautiful about, where you're at and the way you handled it was I feel a lot of people have been struggling with this, where you've kind of embraced the unknown, right? You followed your soul and you went where you were supposed to go, but you remained really neutral. Neutrality is always the key to these scenarios. And here we've been in the unknown where things haven't been able to stick and we don't have the information to move forward and the resources aren't coming, but you're cool with where you're at, right? And that's the key. A lot of people have been there's a lot of programs we default to, right, that are third dimensional or material that when we're in these situations can anchor in the wrong frequency, whether that be fear, right, or frustration or anger. And that turns us back around and it takes us into that third dimension. Right. And that's where a lot of people are getting stuck. So I feel like you're so on the right track. Just the fact that you're embracing the unknown, but also following where your soul's taking you and just being patient in that, because that's the sweet spot right now. Yeah.
So I want to go back to, the person had mentioned God, and you also mentioned God. Mm-hmm. Now, does God really exist? Does he exist as the creator? Is he, who is God?
Wow, that's a profound question. I'm going to channel on that one, Joyce, but I'm going to give you my perspective first because, I think God is such a personal thing. And God has many names. To me, God is an energy, and I think that God energy is within all of us. We are made of it. It is within everything, right? I'm bringing the Council of Light for that one. And what the Council of Light wants to say is that the God frequency that many of you refer to on your planet has been, categorized or misunderstood in physical form or as some type of an entity that is a one entity that is singular or separate from the human consciousness and beyond. But we wish to say that we look at that God presence or that God energy as a collective space that has expanded over the universe and millenniums of time. Through your experience here as a singular being, you are actually expanding that God frequency and that God energy in every moment. And that God energy runs through you in your creative source. When that God energy is put into a very specific type of definition that is outside of the self, this is where we would say it becomes detrimental to your structure because you are able to adopt programs that tell you are not that God source creator that you are. And that God source creator energy is the catalyst for not only your own ascension, but the ascension of your entire human planet. Yeah.
Okay. I understand that, and at the same time, I don't understand that.
Yeah. So, I've been channeling a book. It is in progress. It is a humongous work that I absolutely love. And, I don't want to reveal too much, and there's so much in the book, it's difficult to even, address in an hour. But when we talk about God, we have to always get into, creation and, how did this all come to be? And what I've channeled a lot about in the book is that creation was really, it started with a thought. It's kind of like the microcosm of the macrocosm here where we're talking about timelines and how we create. We create with a thought and that thought had emotion behind it. And, what the guides say is that our planetary being, Mother Gaia was actually an intergalactic energetic creation of love by other beings of higher dimension. There were many just loving dimensional beings that came together through life force energy that wanted to create as a one consciousness through source energy and it became Gaia. And we know that there's a lot of talk about the Big Bang, and I do believe in that Big Bang, and the guides refer to a really pivotal event where the solar energies formed Mother Earth Gaia's core. And that core is energy that is sustaining to us. And that we are created of all of these beings in the likeness of all of them. It's like there was this beautiful announcement in the universe that there was a new expansion of energy, and that expansion of energy was this living, breathing Mother Gaia. And there were beings that came that said, I want to manifest in physical form. I want to help see this planet. I want to be a part of that. And we were made from all of it. Just the beautiful, the likeness of the 12-strand DNA. That's who we are. And, that God source, that God creator energy was the catalyst for all of it. And my book goes into a lot of detail about this, but, that's what I believe based on the channeling that I have done. And we can perceive that, differently through our own experience. And I don't think there's a right way or a wrong way to perceive that. I'm not one who believes in right or wrong. And that's why I don't, I don't subscribe to a lot of religious teachings. I'm not saying religious teachings are right or wrong, but everyone has to follow their inner truth, right?
Right.
But if there's a right and a wrong, then to me, that doesn't resonate with that neutrality, that source energy that the guides always send us back to. That is the God presence, right?
Right. It's 3:48. JP, do we want to take a break now, or do we want to go another 10 minutes? Did JP leave me?
I'm sorry?
I said it's 3:48. Do we want to take a break now?
I usually wait until about 55 or so. That's another 10 or so minutes. So we got time for another call, or unless you want to, see if there's anything coming through for the station or anybody listening that's, just randomly popping in. Anybody
Absolutely.
coming to say hello to you there, Micheila?
Yeah, absolutely. I always love to channel a message. The guides would love to access the energies of all of those who are listening and beyond to bring in the most appropriate message for the highest good of everyone. So let's see who we have. Yeah, so I definitely pick up on the council. We've been working with the Council of Light, and I do want to explain who the council is because you asked that question earlier and I didn't get to them, but they are a dimensional collective of 12-strand DNA, and they're made up of many races, and they came together during a very cataclysmic event in the universe, especially that affected our planet, to monitor timelines and the universal time grid, which is a web of consciousness that is connecting all of us. And they hold that web of consciousness in integrity. So what they want to talk about today is programming on our planet, and they have a message for us about that. So we as the Council of Light are pleased to connect with you telepathically, and we understand that many of you have come to the realization of your soul that there is something outside of this material existence that you have been operating within, and that operation within that material existence has been quite important, we would say, as a part of your ascension timeline. So we want to first say that nothing goes to waste, and everything that you have done here as physical beings has been a part of the expansion of not only your physical consciousness here as a human race, but beyond. And when we look at the current aspect of your timeline as a collective race, we wish to say that there are a couple of different things that we identify as areas that may be holding you back in your ascension or slowing the ascension timeline to a rate of speed that is not in the best interest of where you are heading as a collective. Programming is one of those aspects, and we wish to speak about how that works within your structure. Programs outside of the self are teachings that you have experienced in a density that was not serving you. And those programs are causing imprints within your structure. These are ways in which you define yourself. They are a part of your identity. And in many aspects of your reality, you use these programs as the resistant energy through which you are not able to manifest a rebirth of your consciousness. Let us give you some examples. These programs we have often spoke of in past conversations as the programs of freedom or your monetary structure on this planet, or especially religious teachings. These are all programs that we would refer to. In commonality, each one of these programs holds a very similar aspect, and that is that they place your focus outside of the self onto things that you incorporate as a part of your identity that make you singular. And let us give you an example. If you are to refer to the program of the monetary structure on your planet, that the way in which you receive abundance, you have been taught that in order for you to be a free and sovereign being, or in order for you to live a life that is in the highest and best good for yourself and others, that you must in some way secure this form of monetary abundance. And in order to do that, you have been taught that the precedent is I must in some way place my energy into a physical means to receive this monetary abundance in order to be free. That freedom that gives me the potential to live in a way that I wish to live. But we question you now, are you really living in the way that you wish to live when you are defaulting to this program? What it is doing, it is placing you in a very singular identity that is reliant on something outside of the self that is not necessarily in your control. We don't like to use that word control, but what it does is it gives you a subconscious imprint that you rely on that tells you you are not the creator, that you are not source energy, that freedom that you so wish to have, or that sovereignty that you so desire, is reliant on a physical or material means outside of the self. And that has defined you as less than the creator that you truly are. So we see the most important aspect of the ascension timeline that you are currently within, or the transition that you are within, is that you identify these programs and that you are able to release them from your structure. And this may sound difficult. How am I to do that? Well, we would refer you to the mental body and the emotional body always, because as human beings, you have a structure that relies on your thoughts and your manifestations of emotion to make up a frequency. That frequency is what creates a vibration that manifests into a timeline. And if that frequency is attached to a lower vibration, meaning I am not creator, I am reliant on something outside of self as creator, or a tool outside of the self to allow me to create, you cannot raise the dimensionality around your manifestations. And this is where you currently reside. Because Mother Gaia is vibrating at a speed in which your platform has now been raised to a fifth dimensional level. And that fifth dimensional level is a collective energy. And that collective energy knows no lack. It knows no resource outside of the self. It only knows the oneness of your being with others. It knows the collective assignment that you came to put forth into the expansive energy, the planetary being that is Mother Gaia, knowing that it would serve others through this beautiful web of consciousness. So our most important message for you is to pay close attention to where you may catch yourself in the moment, where you may be defining yourself or limiting yourself by these programs, such as the one we spoke of earlier. These go on and on, of course. They go into your beliefs around the energies of the planet, around the energies of the universe. They hold you back in areas of resistance beyond monetary abundance. They affect your ability to connect telepathically outside of yourself to the support that you so desire. So when you are operating within your physical reality day to day, we ask you to place your awareness, your perception into your thoughts and your emotions, giving you the cues and the clues to where these programs are teaching you or defaulting you to ideals or identities that are not one with Creator and not one with Source Energy, and limiting you in the abundance that is now available. Yes.
Wow. I feel like that was like just for me. I could so relate to that. I was sitting here listening and I'm like being blown away. I'm like, oh my gosh, this is me. You're talking about me.
Yeah, keep in mind when these, I've been told, that when these channeled messages come through, it's not just about the words, because sometimes I get feedback, that was so difficult. I didn't understand what they were saying. Well, there's a frequency that comes through energetically when I'm connected this way. And if you are listening to channeled information through your collective intent, you're raising your vibration, because you have to. In order, yes, channeling is a two-way street. I am placing the intent to bring those guides in and raising my vibrational energy. But in order for you to hear channeled material, you also have to raise your vibration to the same frequency. And you are forever changed every time you hear a channeled message, because that frequency has to make an impact on your energy body. Yeah. So it doesn't matter if you understood it. It matters.
Oh, I understood it just fine.
Yeah. Okay, good.
And it's funny that you say that, because I've watched a lot of your videos, and there were some of them where I was like, what the heck are they talking about? And I just didn't get it. It's 3:57. We're going to take a music break. When we come back, Micheila, I want to talk about, the Conscious Youth, the group that we have, on Facebook, because there might be some of our listeners might be interested in that. We also want to talk about how they can get in touch with you, the kind of work that you do. Because I did put up your information, but we haven't given it on the verbal yet, and we want to do that. So we come back with Micheila Sheldan. We'll be talking some more with her just after this short break. Your life, live it to the fullest. I am your host, Joyce Wheeler, and it is Sunday, June 26, 2016. You are listening to Will Spirit Radio and Ever and Beyond Radio. Please remember that we are listener sponsored, so click that donate button and show some love. And I am here with my guest, Micheila Sheldan. Micheila, were you back with us?
Yeah, I am. Thanks for having me.
Great. I'm so glad you could come. I want to talk about the Conscious Youth group that you have on Facebook, but I also would like for you to share how you handle your daughters and with their gifts, and how you kind of kept what you're channeling away from them, and why. And if you could just talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, it was a tough journey for me, because being in a mainstream world and coming into this channeling gift, and like I mentioned, even channeling extraterrestrials, is not something I wanted to talk about. And I immediately had some fear for my two daughters, who, really didn't know anything about this. I didn't share much with my family, or them. And I kind of felt like, boy, when these moms find out that I'm the crazy one on the block, they're never bring their kids over here again, and my kids are going to suffer when they have to deal with this. And so I was very cautious with, what I shared with them. But what happened was very interesting. I just, again, everything just happens for a reason. It was kind of a beautiful and amazing day. I was on a field trip, actually, with my oldest daughter, and knew nothing about her having gifts at all. She had never talked about us in having any connection with spirit, but we were in New York, and we were going to visit the 9/11 museum. And the bus dropped us off several blocks away from the memorial there. And if you've ever been, it's, you have to wait in line. They kind of have a ticketing thing, and you almost go through like a TSA kind of a situation. And we were walking in through the streets, and I'm highly empathic, obviously very sensitive to energy. I was feeling the emotion in the streets. I was starting to feel this just overwhelming sense of panic, and it was really affecting me. But I glanced over at everyone else to see, who else in the group might be feeling this. Everyone was just kind of having their casual conversations and walking the street. My daughter's face looked quite different, and it was very telling. She almost had tears in her eyes, and I could tell she was feeling what I was feeling. And there was one other girl in the group, and we kind of stuck together. And that day, my daughter started to see spirit. She saw spirit on the streets in New York, and she saw a man running from one of the towers, and she saw a woman on the street with her head in her hands, crying. And she actually got a name of one of the men that she saw. And we get inside, and we actually looked it up, because you can look up on the computers, you can search different, names of people who passed in the tragedy. And sure enough, it was one of the men who had passed in one of the towers. Well, on the way in, I was comforting her, from the same things that she was seeing, but I was hearing things. And at the time, I really wasn't very clairvoyant. I was primarily clairaudient. So, and this is where we talk about, the mediumship coming in. I was really acting full on as a medium at that point. And, the people that pass there are very angry. They do not like the memorial. They do not like the way that it is, bordered or secluded. They feel like it should be open and anyone could come in and pay respects. They wish that their families would have been honored as opposed to something being memorialized of their death. But, things like the people that work there, they have the logos on the shirt and logos on the hat. They despise the logo. But I was hearing a lot of things, and, that day, the way it just unfolded was I sat down with her in that courtyard, and I told her I was a channel. And we just shared that day together and just had an amazing experience, by which, very emotional experience, but she was actually seeing confirmation of things that I was hearing. I was, at one point we had a tour guide, and I turned to her and I said, wow, they really don't like the logo and on the shirt and the hat. And she went, oh, Mom, there's a man. He's touching your shoulder. And I said, well, okay, why is he touching my shoulder? And she said, when you said that, he touched your shoulder as if to say, he heard that, almost confirming in a gentle way, yes, that you heard that right. And so it was a really, it was not a planned event for me to divulge that to her, but it ended up being a really beautiful experience for the two of us. And then come to find out my youngest daughter as well, the more I let the cat out of the bag and started living my truth, meaning I just opened up to family and friends and them. Her gifts emerged, and my youngest daughter is actually a medium, very talented medium, and had no idea she was doing it, and ended up connecting with another parent who said, wow, we're very grateful for the messages your daughter has brought to us from my deceased father. And I said, oh, really? She's doing that. And there were many things that she, there's no way she could have known that she brought in for them, but and she continues to today. But it just became a whole new path for me. And, just watching them emerge and the questions that they had, and coming to realize that if I hadn't ever opened up to them in this way, they would have never experienced that side of themselves, nor, or maybe they would have never, questioned it or brought it to my attention. And conscious youth really unfolded from that. But in addition to that, I work here in the Detroit area with a volunteer organization called the Flower of Life Center for Human Evolution. And Ethan Fox runs the organization. I'm also the executive director alongside of him. Excuse me just one second. Somebody in the chat room just mentioned Ethan Fox. Yeah. Yeah, Ethan is an amazing energy healer, spiritual teacher. He is the founder of the Flower of Life Center. And I actually, to be honest, a part of my gifts emerging and me finding that support, it has everything to do with him. As I was meditating and coming into these awakenings, I was looking for support online because I didn't have anybody in my world that I could relate to, about any of this stuff. And I did a Google search and I found an energy transfer that he was doing here in the area. He does a really beautiful energy transfer and discourse by which he accepts the negative karma of others, and he's able to transmute that and raise the consciousness. And so I went to one of his events and was just completely blown away by, the lecture that he gave, but also the energy. And I believe that, his energy supported me through this entire transition. He's actually, coached me as well to bring this into the world from a business perspective. He has a really interesting way of mixing spirituality and business, which is a difficult thing to do in this day and age. He's an incredible astrologer numerologist, and he combines all of his, wisdom and guidance, both as, someone who walked that business mainstream world, as well as the spiritual world, to help me launch this. But here at Flower of Life, I had this desire with my kids to connect them with others, and we don't have this in the mainstream schools, right? That there's no one to talk to about this. There's no one to associate with it. And even they don't teach it either. Right. Yeah.
It's not even an elective.
Yeah. The whole energy is, right. It's completely opposite. But, he had for quite a long time wanted to open an alternative school. And so we started talking about, how can we move towards this energy of this alternative school and supporting kids, and Conscious Youth was born. And Conscious Youth is a group for kids aged 9 to 18. We started it here locally, getting some kids together, and absolutely loved it. We brought in speakers, teachers, healers. We taught them everything from the tarot to astrology. We taught them about channeling, mediumship, cranial sacral, Reiki, you name it, and they got to do hands-on. And it's funny, I say we taught them, but they actually school us, because what ends up happening is these kids are so gifted that they just can take over the conversation, and they're amazing. They're just amazing. So we ended up wanting to expand this group because it was so successful here in our local area that we took it remote. So now what we're doing is once a month, we are, or I guess twice a month now, we're connecting kids from all over the world on a remote call to delve into these topics. And we have speakers sometimes. We just had an excellent aura reader here in our area, Barb Morey, come online and talk about aura reading and what an aura is. And, of course, all the kids have already seen them. It's almost like confirming in them and giving them someone who they can relate to. It was such a beautiful meeting. And then in between we do what we call ask and share, where we all get together online and we let the kids run the meeting, and they get to share their experiences with us. They get to ask questions, and it really has been so supportive. I've gotten some beautiful feedback from the parents. We have some great kids in the program. We have some kids that just have never been able to talk about this before.
Right. I can imagine so.
Yeah, I had this, one of the first meetings we did remote, there was this 9-year-old girl, and she was adorable, and we were on a video call, and she's quiet. The meeting goes on for an hour and a half, and everyone's sharing, and she's just listening, won't share. And right at the end of the meeting, she divulged all of this information about these dreams, these psychic dreams that she has that were incredible. And her mom contacted me after the meeting and was just in tears, and she said she has never talked about that to anyone but me, and just found it so incredibly supportive that she had this group to share that with, So we'd love to expand the group. If you're interested, you can reach out to me. I'm sure we'll have my contact information. But we're also now finding that the parents want to get together, because we've had a lot of parents reach out and say, I have questions because I don't know about this stuff, and my kid is doing it, right? And I don't know how to answer their questions. I don't know how to support this. My family has never experienced these types of things before. So we are planning now to actually have a parent meeting online, I think in August, where we're going to get the parents together and do an ask and share with the parents. What are these kids experiencing? How can we support them in their experiences?
So why don't you give your information, give your website, and what kind of services you offer?
Absolutely. Well, there's a couple of different ways you can contact me. And first I'll talk about Flower of Life. So Flower of Life is the organization I mentioned earlier. And we are volunteers that are focused on raising human consciousness, and that manifests in a variety of areas, including conscious youth. But we also have an expo here that we do in the Detroit area that is nothing you'll find anywhere else. It is a life-changing event, and our next one will be November 4th through the 6th here in Detroit. We bring in pioneers from all over the globe in areas of, ancient archaeology, channeling, energy, vibration, you name it. So that website is floweroflifecenter.org. So you can contact me through that website, or you can check out awakenedempoweredexpo.com. Actually, a lot of my channeled material is on the Awaken Empowered Expo YouTube channel. I do a show called Awaken Empowered TV with Ethan Fox, and I'm channeling on that show. And anytime I do a live event, I always put my channels on YouTube for free so that everyone can access the material and information. So that's one way you can get in touch with me, but also MicheilaSheldan.com. So it's MicheilaSheldan.com. I also have my own YouTube channel, but you can contact me there as well. I do private sessions. I also have a variety of channels, ascension courses that I've done, which have been extremely beautiful. Never imagined in my wildest dreams I would be doing something like that, but I've channeled 3 courses so far that have all had a different focus. They've been between 10 and 5 weeks long, hours and hours of channeled ascension material, mostly on the transition we're walking right now, which is reintegrating the mental, physical, emotional, and spiritual bodies because we've been very disrupted and fragmented in those bodies. I've also done one on programming, which was interestingly the message that came through earlier from the council. How do we get rid of this programming? And each week, I've worked with the beautiful consciousness of the Lemurians. There's a Lemurian ninth dimensional collective that came in to channel these classes for me. And they are just such loving beings, all about peace, freedom, and love. And they really delve in detail to these programs that we're operating within. And invite the Pleiadian collective in to do activations and things to energetically bring these programs to the surface so that we can heal them in our physical lives. And then I just did one on anchoring the mental body, or I'm sorry, the higher self, not the mental body. Anchoring in the higher self to override that mental body, right? As the seer of our energy. So, all of those things you can view and are available on my website. Yeah. But lots and hours of free channel material out there on YouTube.
Okay, it's 4:19. Why don't we go into some more channeling? And I actually have a question if some of the guides or whatnot could answer it for me. And basically what I want to know is I'm hearing from someone, and actually yesterday I believe I'm hearing from two sources. And I'd kind of like to know who or what those sources are. And then the other thing I would like to know is if I am doing what I'm supposed to be doing.
Okay. So I'm bringing Jeremiah in, which is a collective that I work with, and they're very pleased to connect with you telepathically, and they want to say that we are opening your record and working within your record. So we're bringing information through from the current timeline and the frequency and energy that you hold. So we first want to say that your connection is a manifestation of your consciousness, and that consciousness is tied to the ascension timeline. So the integration of the higher self has been a very big focal point of the connections that you have made. The reason for that is that we are bringing the higher self online as a human collective in this transition in order for us to raise the dimensionality around our physical experience. There are two crystals in the base of the neck or at the base of the spine that are coming into one connection to the crystalline core. They've been fragmented, and you've been reassembling those. And in that reassembly, you've been accessing your higher self. So that is one of the sources of the messages that are coming through telepathically. But we also want to say that the energies of Syrian connection coming in very strong and vibrating through me. There's a collection or a connection of Syrian collective beings that step in. You have a distinct connection to the Syrian energies, and that is through your DNA, and you have a lineage or a history with those Syrian beings. There's a purpose for that because there is teaching that comes through you, and that teaching is energetic. We say that within your DNA you have a collective assignment, and that assignment is in alignment with the current Earth record. And when we talk about that you're here to anchor in, it has much to do with the history of the Syrian beings and the Syrian connection to the earth. But also it has a lot to do with healing tools and how we will be using these healing tools within the structure. We are walking a transition right now that you came to support, and that support is coming from this Syrian energy through you. So you're being prepared in some ways to be able to be energetically connected to this consciousness as a vessel. And I think there's a lot of downloads coming through. And what the guides show me is you have a very distinct ascension code that has yet to be triggered. And I feel like you're working into that in the next month or two. Honestly, I feel like what they're showing me has a lot to do with ancient scribes and symbols, symbology of the human structure and how it relates to past, present, and future, how we can, I'm getting a lot around the emotional body too with this connection that you have. What the guides show me is that we have a deep connection to collective history that affects our vibration, our emotional body. And sometimes we don't know what that is because it's at the subconscious level. Just like the question that came through earlier from the woman about the soul and, how is the soul operating? Well, the soul is operating in its singularity because that's where you're focused, but there's a lot of other timelines and information that's flooding through you that you're not aware of in this density, or this density is keeping you blocked from, but it doesn't mean it's not affecting your vibration. And I believe that you're here on the planet in some way to connect that information and to help people understand how to better heal it. And there's some type of ancient tools I think that the Sirians want to show you, that are it's gonna help you come to this teaching that you're meant to do here in the world. It floods your energy with this beautiful, oh my gosh, just this really beautiful, I want to call it blue-green aura, like this light that floods in from them. And what it does is it allows you to tap into this energy through the higher self. It's like they send it straight to me. Sometimes when I'm on a television show or a radio show, I'm speaking as if it were me, but I'm actually channeling information in that moment. And I'm often surprised when I go back and I listen. And you have this similar type of connection, that you're anchoring in, where you're going to be able to tap into the Sirian energy, but use it in some way in the teachings that you're here to bring to the world. Yeah.
Wow. That's really interesting. Thank you so much.
You're very welcome.
We have a question.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody says, I recently received a reading from Saint Germain on life missions and lessons, and found that one of my life missions is to channel. And as I'm relatively new to all of this and would like to know how to proceed with this life mission.
Okay, so the first, and I'm doing a combination here of channeling and conscious. So the guides that come in for you are actually Archangel Michael, and I do get a presence of Saint Germain also stepping into this energy. Very pleased to invite them in. So they want to say first and foremost that anytime you are receiving information about your collective assignment, when you take it so literally and you begin to place it into your physical dimension, it often creates a resistance, because you begin to wish to allow the mental body to make plans, or you wish to keep yourself in an energy through which you feel time is the catalyst for this program or this assignment, meaning, there's only a limited amount of time, linear time, that I have to achieve this, or, I haven't done enough so far, and you begin feeling the frustration, right, of that type of scenario. And that frustration places you in resistance to receiving that information. What they specifically show me for you is nature being a huge, huge catalyst for this type of connection. And the reason for that is you're very grounded to nature. And as a matter of fact, I feel like you had the ability to telepathically exchange with nature really easily. Now remember, when we talked about nature earlier, nature is the God frequency, right? It becomes the portal of earth that we can use, that oneness that we are, that opens up our energy field and allows us to exchange with universal frequencies and energies. And essentially when we are channeling, that is what we are doing. We're opening our energy field to exchange with new information or higher vibrational information. So when we talk about vibration, we have to ensure that we are also giving you physical advice, because being the physical being that you are and grounded here on this earth, ensure that nature comes in all aspects of your physical reality, whether it be in foods or the waters that you are consuming, or whether it be the type of music that you're listening to. Everything that you bring into your physical awareness, everything that you surround yourself with has a vibration, and it becomes a part of you. And if that vibration is equal to something that is lower than the connections that you wish to make, it's causing a disruption or chaos in the structure that doesn't allow that collective assignment to manifest in the way that it was meant to. So we wish for you to ease up on the responsibility that you've perceived this mission to be, and the urgency that you've placed on it within the program of linear time, and begin to focus more within on the self and things that make you happy, things that bring you to peace, things that bring you to joy. It doesn't have to be relatable to the channeling or the mission that you've been given, because the more that you put energetic currency into that part of the truth of who you are, that higher vibrational being that you are, emanates with the soul's plan. It emanates with the soul's record, and it matches that timeline. Yes. And that's what we've been speaking about in this communication, is the timelines that you've created or you've come with an intention to create. They have a vibration, And that vibration of your collective assignment is a collective vibration, which is higher than what you can manifest in your singular form. So embrace that collective vibration, whether it be bringing more nature into your being, bringing more peace, love, and happiness into your experience, and using some of that energetic currency on things within your reality that bring you to that peace, love, and joy vibration to attract that dimensional timeline. Yeah.
Okay, we have another question. Actually, this is something. Were you done, Micheila? I'm sorry.
No, that's okay. I was going to add something as I step back in here. What I do want to say is I know that because I channel a lot for private clients, and the focus is always the collective assignment. Everyone wants to know, what am I here to do? What's my purpose? And the guides will give that to you, but they're always saying that you have the free will and the creative energy to manifest it however you so choose. So sometimes when we get this information, we think we put it in a box. I have to channel a certain way, or it has to show up for me a certain way. And when we do that, we restrict our energy. So we have to stay very open to the way things are going to manifest, because I know with my own mission here, I had no idea the turns it would take, the types of ways I would connect that are completely different to the way I started. And the more you stay open to the way that will appear for you, I think the better frequency you're in to allow it to manifest.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Kind of let it come to you instead of trying to, make it come. Like, come on.
Yeah, we don't understand the simple ways we create resistance, right? When we're frustrated over something, or we think I'm not doing it right, or I obviously did something wrong because this isn't coming, right? Those simple things, those simple thoughts, they create a lot of density and resistance around the openness of our energy field to accept new information. Yeah, so it becomes really important. There's those little tricks and tips can help you.
Now there's a question, and this is something we talked about Friday. How do we stay neutral in these bumpy times?
Yeah, that's the tricky one, right? So the guides are always talking about neutrality. What is neutrality? Well, what they say is every timeline holds an imprint within your structure, and there can be a higher vibrational aspect of that timeline or a lower vibrational aspect of the timeline. And I'll give you the perfect example, because for some reason, the monetary system has been a big focus recently. And I just channeled, I do a monthly program, where people are able to tune into a monthly video that I offer. And I just filmed it yesterday, and this was the example that came through. When we have, a timeline that is related to money, and they were talking about this earlier, we imprint an identity to ourselves based on that timeline. So if you look at the collective consciousness, we have people who we say are poor, or we have people who are wealthy, right? Or we have people who are middle class, right? That comes with a definition. And if you put that on a timeline, you might say, okay, well, the people who are poor would be the lower vibrational aspect of that timeline, and the people that are wealthy are on the higher vibrational aspect of that timeline, and that higher vibrational aspect is better. But you see, really, you need to find the neutrality in any timeline. So why is the higher vibrational one not better? If you're very wealthy, why would that not be better? But the guides say that when you're in a state of higher vibration like that, what can happen is you can still default to fear in the structure. So if someone has a lot of money, what are they doing to make all of that money? Maybe they're going out and they're working really hard every day. They're driving to a job every day. That job isn't aligned with their truth, but it's making them a lot of money, right? That doesn't mean that they're honoring their truth in some way that's higher vibrational or higher dimensional, right? It's become a fear-based type of mentality that every day I better wake up and go to this job,
right? Or
I'm not going to be able to hold on to that money. The person who's in poverty is maybe functioning in a lack mentality, where every day they get up and they're focusing on the lack through their perception, right? What neutrality is it is seeing the timeline for what it is without attachment to what it is. Because in every moment, we have the ability to create our existence differently. And the guides actually say our physical body itself is a manifestation of our consciousness in every moment. You know, we think, well, we wake up with the same physical body every day. Well, no, we wake up and we create our physical body the same way every day through our perception. You know, that's a tough one to think about, but it's true. So when you become neutral, what you're doing is you are being in the moment with what is without being attached to something that is not, right? And that's the sweet spot by which the guides talk about we can anchor in this new form of collective manifestation, because that's the problem. People have been really stagnant. They haven't been able to, manifest the resources, the abundance, the relationship went away, whatever it may be. Well, at the core of that issue, we're actually vibrating at a speed now where there's a new form of manifestation available to us on the planet. And I've been talking about this for quite some time. The guides give me this triangular shape, and it's almost like a, pyramid. And they call it the 3 points of manifestation. They make, 1 point at the top, the universe, another point, our soul, the soul level, and Mother Gaia. And in that center spot is where that collective form of manifestation lies. So we cannot have attachments to anything any longer in our material world. And when we have gone through this transition, it's been really difficult because the job went away and then the money went away and then we were in a state of fear, or we were associating with lack and, whatever that may be. But finding the neutrality in that situation is coming to that calm space where the higher self is able to come in, and energetically we know that our frequency is everything. And when we hold that neutral frequency without attachment, right, to what's happening in the moment, that's where we begin to be able to use that collective form of manifestation. And the key to that also is really not any longer service to self. Because the guides even say, I hesitate to say it this way, but the way we've been manifesting in the third dimension has been a bit flawed. It's been very singularly based. We wanted to manifest the car, right? The job, the relationship, whatever it may be for the self. But now the way that we're operating, it's gotta be service to the collective. And that's a different way of thinking about your life. That's why people who I believe are more purpose driven are going to be manifesting easier and going to be receiving the support, right? Whether that be resources or finances or that relationship or whatever it may be, it all has a distinct purpose with your collective assignment here, right? And when we get into that energy, that's where things start to move. But we can't get from here to there in a moment's notice. So we have to stay really neutral. That means detached from our material experience and owning more of our energy and our frequency as we roll into this, what I think is a big opening that we're walking into right now to be able to manifest differently.
Okay, another one. Where is the new energy coming from?
Well, I don't think that new energy is an interesting question. I'm going to let the guides answer that one, but I'm going to answer it from my perspective first. I'm going to go back to the example of the tree. I don't know that any energy is really new. I think what we're doing is we're always expanding based on our experience. I think that we receive vibrational support and raises in our frequency from higher dimensional beings, and we're walking a record right now through which the planet is raising her frequency and vibration. But when you think back to the example of the tree that was given, that energy of the tree coming through the root of Mother Gaia, using those resources that the nutrients, the water, and bringing it up through the earth and bringing it to us and the air, it's all secular. I feel like energy is available to us through expansion, and we are always rebirthing that energy new in our physical experience. So I think we are the ones that bring the new energy to our experience, but the energy becomes a new dimensional timeline, right? Like, let's take that timeline they gave us of money for an example that's running. Maybe there's a timeline you have running of poverty, for example. You can rebirth that energy. It doesn't ever really go away or become new, but you raise it into a higher frequency. So maybe where you were feeling that lack in the third dimension, you raise that timeline up into the fifth dimension, and you may still not be receiving the financial abundance that you wanted or expected, but maybe now in some way it makes sense to you. Maybe you didn't need as much as you thought you did, or maybe you were receiving the abundance, but you're fueling it into something that's different. It's a project that is serving humanity, right? It's taking the energy that we have, and I don't think birthing it anew or receiving it anew. I think it is recreating it in a new density, re-imprinting it in a new density through our experience.
Okay, someone wants to know, where are the songs coming from that I wake up to a lot of mornings? What is the purpose? Today it was the sound of silence.
Well, what your guides are calling you to pay attention to is the lyrics in those songs, because they're matching a message that you're receiving in your light body travels. So we want to discuss sleeping hours, because we know this is very important on your planet, the rest times that you have. And the energy body of the human form requires rest, you feel, in order to become more physical throughout your day, when in reality the structure is resetting itself and allowing your light body to travel in those hours, telepathically exchanging with not only information but higher vibrational beings and other aspects of the self, other timelines in which you're expressing energy. So oftentimes when the light body comes back, it brings information back in ways that is filtered through your consciousness. So when you're not remembering your light body travel through sleep hours, and this can be a dream state that you bring forward, or it can be a message that you bring forward, your consciousness is either blocking that through the density you arrive back in, or it's interpreting it differently through something that is matched or familiar in your current physical world. So when you are referring to the songs, we say that there is a deep meaning between that song or the lyrics of that song and the information that was received during the light body travel.
Okay, we have one more. Could you tell me what soul group I am with and what the collective mission is? Thank you.
Can I get a name, please? Is there a name?
Yeah. Well, actually, it's not the actual name. It's like a handle. Let me see. The name they're using is Mona Lisa. Let me see if I can get that pin.
No, you know what? It's okay. The guides have it, so they want to talk to that, speak to that for a minute. So what they're showing me is this almost beautiful timeline, this cord jetting out from my soul into this beautiful energy, and they almost clear this path where I see many beings stepping forward. But it's a fifth dimensional energy, and it's related to a collective consciousness that they want to call, I'm having a hard time. It's a new collective for me.
Wow.
I know this doesn't happen very often, but sometimes it does, and it's interesting how it shows up. I see so many coming forward. They're giving me the grays, and I have channeled the grays for others, but this is a different dimensional consciousness of the grays. And oftentimes when they're giving me that, the human collective hears of the grays, they think of a lower dimensional consciousness or beings that are not in supportive of the Earth timeline, but these are higher dimensional beings that are in great support of the Earth timeline. And I think in some way you have a DNA genetic link to these grays, but to be honest with you, I feel like there's a lot of them on the planet, that are in human form and almost human hybrid form that you vibrate with. That collective that you're feeling it's on the planet with you. That's why they anchor it so close to the Earth, and that's why I was having such a difficult time, because oftentimes they take me up, and not that up is better, but sometimes when I'm looking at, the fairy realm or the elementals, they show me the Earth, but I saw the Earth and these light beings. And so they say the fifth dimensional gray energy, and they make it more of a hybrid energy, and they show me that Earth collective. Those hybrids are here in physical form, and you're one, and you have a higher dimensional strand DNA, and that fifth dimension has always been open and available to you even since birth. I think that you've had not sure if you remember them, but you've definitely had some travels and you've conferenced with these beings. And I think you've, especially even in your child years, you've had some, interaction with these beings, off planet. And you come here feeling that connection and that oneness. And the reason that these hybrid beings are here in this time is not only to raise the frequency of the earth, but also it's almost like doing research. I think there's a lot of information that comes through them on frequency of the planet, especially on human genetics and how the grays as a part of a 12th dimensional consciousness that is in support of the council can actually, support the various parts of the ascension timeline and where the human consciousness vibrates. I feel like this person that's chiming in is really, really sensitive to this and almost feels it with other beings in her space, that she's not really understanding. It's a telepathic exchange that she has with these beings, and she actually takes in a lot of information this way from others. She's a part of that energy.
She's asking if it's the ancient ones.
The ancient ones, as in the ancient collective that I'm channeling, like the ancients, or
I don't know.
Ancient grace.
Question mark.
Well, what they show me is, as hybrid beings, that collective is, actually part of the entire collective of the Greys. We know that there are many races who have come as a part of the, what the human collective calls ancient times, or, the creation of the human consciousness, and they were a part of that as well. But there have been a variety of different splits of consciousness in these races by which groups have taken on a new dimensional consciousness. And we spoke earlier of beings coming to the earth to seed the human race, and there were beings that decided to let go of some of their non-physicality, understanding they were taking on a denser vibration in order to do that, bringing history forward through them. And so, yeah, I would definitely say they are connected to the ancients, if she wants to call it that. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
We've got like less than 15 minutes left, and I have two people that would like to know if you would do a reading for them.
Sure.
The first one her name is Kristen.
Okay. Anything specific she's looking for, or just whatever's here for her highest good?
She didn't say.
Just a reading. Okay. Okay. So the first thing the guides are taking me into big time is relationships for her. And so I don't know if there's something going on with her relationships, or if I feel like there's an area of focus for her on this planet regarding relationships. And I even want to say that it goes beyond love relationships. I feel like family relationships are in the spotlight, and relationships going beyond that with beings. It's like she's here for, again, we talk about the microcosm of the macrocosm. So we have a lot of relationships, within our physical singular experience, and those relationships seem very singular and separate to us, when in reality they're archetypes or history that we bring through us in all of these relationships. There's aspects of our soul that we came to heal, karmic energies that we came to experience through relationships, but in reality it is all connected to history. And we look at that in our family units as well. We often have struggles, right, with family, or struggles in relationships. And there's some type of harmony or peaceful energy that comes around that for her. And I feel like energetically she has the ability to work within those relationships to uncover some type of a new dimensionality. The way we talked about bringing timelines up into a new dimension heals them and rebirths them and gives them a new opportunity. And I get her as some type of a coach in this life, or, maybe a teacher or a practitioner around this. And I think energy is a big part of that. I think she has the ability to channel in healing energy around this, but there's definitely a part of her story that coincides with this. And the guides are calling me to tell her that we never experience anything within our physical reality that isn't a part of what we came to do in this life. So if there's something difficult she's going through right now, or something she went through in her childhood having to do with relationships, that story in itself was giving her the cues or the clues. But the relationships with the higher beings come in as a second phase of that. So sometimes when I see the collective assignment, the guides will take me into phases. And I see that here she is in this physical experience, this grounded experience, but I think she already knows she's sensitive to energy. I think she knows she has the ability to tap into timelines and energies of other beings and other, especially human beings. in this life. And this may be, very in a really comforting way. You know, like people might be really drawn to her because her energy is so open and comforting. It's because she has a healing element to what she's connected to. And the guides take me straight up to the Pleiadian light for her. I feel like she does have a deep connection to the Pleiadian energies. But we have to realize and understand that there are some basic premises by which the human consciousness has been operating in regards to relationships. It's very similar to that programming that we talked about earlier. And I think she's here to divulge some of that and help the human consciousness understand how to, again, raise that energy up to a higher dimension. And I feel like there's a teaching that comes through her. There's a practice that comes through her. She might be doing this singularly to start, but moving into more of a collective space with this as she transitions.
All right. She wants to know about her soul group.
Her soul group? Well, as far as the soul group goes, and the guides that I work with really refer more to your DNA connection. So when we're talking off planet, the guides definitely take me straight up to the Pleiadian consciousness. So when we're operating in the DNA, we can see that you have a deep connection to the Pleiadian light. You are part of that light in many lives. It doesn't mean that was your only cosmic experience, but we know that when we have a collective assignment, we bring it through from our DNA and we anchor it in through that DNA connection. So I feel like she definitely works with the Pleiadian energies that giving me a seventh dimensional feel around that collective for her. But if we take this down to the earth and we want to talk about earth collectives, I do actually get a lot of native type of a presence coming in when we talk about earth collectives and earth lives. So I'm guided to tell her that a lot of her earthly lives held a connection to the native energies, and I see that she operates in that native presence with that connection to earth. Like it's an empathy, it's a caregiver about her with the earth energies, and it comes with the connection to the tribe as well. So what the guides show me in addition to that is she really has an open path in front of her right now where I think she's coming to the point where there's a couple of timelines opening up for her on the earth, and she's going to be working within a new type of an energy where she's going to manifest some different type of people around her that bring out more of that connection if she hasn't experienced it yet. And it's almost like, you know, that when we talk about the tribe, we sometimes talk about our earth tribe. I feel like that's her earth tribe, but there's going to be many, on the earth, I think, beyond this, experience that she's walking into right now.
Okay.
Things are about to change for her. Things are about to change for her on the earth. The patterns of the people that she's been connecting with are starting to reform.
We've got 3 more people, but it's 4:50, so we've only got about 10 minutes. Colleen would like a general reading too, please.
Colleen, okay.
Colleen.
Okay, so for Colleen, I want to go straight into, a lot of creative energy. I feel like she's here to do something very creative on the earth, and they take me right into, like, we talk about mediumship and we talk about that soul energy that's kind of a consciousness, right, that is incarnate that we can tap into. I feel like she has the ability to tap into a lot of that energy, so I think she could function as a medium if she's not already. But there's a way that she can bring in an imprint of another, the imprint of the soul. And I see that manifesting very creatively. And I don't, sometimes when I see creative energy, the guides show me this beautiful painting with all this color. And I see that she has this beautiful ability to create that in some way. And it's an energetic transmission. So, I'm not sure if she works with children as well. But the children really flood into this message too for her. And I don't want to say that, what I want to say is that they're taking me more into the hybrid children. So we know that there's a hybrid children program in which there have been many children who have been created through the DNA of the human consciousness who are ready to enter the planet. A lot of these kids we've called, crystals, or we've called them indigos, and they're here with this higher frequency, but these children are quite different. And they have a relationship to her as well. And in that connection, that telepathic connection that she has, I think she's going to bring in a lot of that information as well. So it's not just the souls who have passed or the incarnate souls that have passed and the imprint of their soul, but I think it's this beautiful imprint of these hybrid children showing up through this creation. She can channel energy through her as well, but it shows up differently. She has to express it in the physical. So sometimes we recognize energy healers or channelers or mediums as, giving messages or channeling frequencies, but there's something that she's meant to create here in the physical that holds that frequency or that message or that imprint. And I can see it as writing. I can see it as, painting. I see it as color. She might be a seer as well. They take me straight into the pineal gland for her, or the inner sight. So if she's looking for a spiritual tool to focus in on, I would definitely choose the sight, because that's what's ready to emerge in her if it's not already.
Okay, and JP would also like, let's see, wait, he said something. JP said, I would also like to ask Micheila if she has any messages from my guides or
liaison.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I have a liaison.
A liaison.
Yeah,
Okay.
You understand what I'm talking about?
Yeah, absolutely, I do.
Could you see if she's got anything to say? Oh, I shouldn't have said she.
Yeah,
anyway.
Beautiful energy right around the heart chakra for me.
Yeah, what color are you getting?
Green.
Yeah.
Getting a lot of green.
What kind of green?
Seeing is not like my, especially color is not my forte, but when I see like these beautiful green kind of orbs, but I also see almost some dimensional energy coming in, like purple around that. I see orbs of light. But really what she shows me is the heart chakra. She shows me the heart chakra on you being the tool through which a lot of the information that you take in and exchange, it's like that's your portal center. And I think you feel that very dramatically, right?
Oh yeah.
But in addition to that, I'm seeing a lot of shapes. So they're showing me a lot of sacred geometric shapes. And those sacred geometric shapes have meaning. And it's almost like they bring in all these beautiful orbs with these sacred geometric shapes in them coming into your being. And they have, not only a purpose in the physical, but they also have a frequency or an energy, and you assemble them in some way in the chakras. And when you assemble them, it's almost like there's an ancient connection. So I get this ancient connection to, maybe like a portal. They show me like a pyramid. They show me, ancient hieroglyphics, and they show me this portal opening and stuff coming in through the earth and that coming in through you. So I almost make you this incredible type of portal energy or healer in this life. But again, I feel like it has a physical manifestation. Similar to the last caller, things are assembled within you. Things are assembled. Information is assembled. It's put into order. And you have some kind of a creation around that. And I don't know if it's a book or if it's a drawing, or if it's sketch or what it is. But I even get these ancient gods coming in now. I get Pythagoras coming in for you even. And like I see all these constellations above me forming with these ancient gods and these structures. So there's something about your connection to the ancient gods and the way we connected with the gods. I think you're like a very,
I mean, if anybody has, this is brilliant.
Yeah.
This is brilliant. Because if anybody, has been listening to my shows in the last year, I've been voicing these ancient titans. No kidding.
Oh, lovely.
So another medium, her name's Jessica, she receives the messages and I voice them, I read them out cold, and for some reason I seem to be able to quite easily tune into their characters and get them across. It sounds like different people, not just me, which is quite fun.
Oh, okay. Yeah, there was definitely, there were different gods or, different beings that were appearing. Yeah, there's no question there's many. Yeah, I love that.
Cool, thank you.
You're welcome.
Do we have time for one more?
Well, we're about out of time, I'm afraid. But it's for Debrielle, isn't it?
Yeah.
Just go for it. Quick one.
Okay. All right. Last one is for Deborah.
Deborah, okay. Well, she's definitely another one I see this pyramid shape coming in front of me, but this ancient portal again, and the earth energies are really important to what she's doing. So they take that pyramid portal straight into the earth, and they take me straight to the core of Mother Earth. So we talked about that crystalline core that vibrates within Mother Earth, and that structure is within us. There's a direct connection between that Mother Earth Gaia crystalline core and what we use within our structure. And it really becomes the connection to what these gods are. And so it's funny, they draw this line. So they give me this beautiful pyramid and they take it into the earth and they show me the crystalline core of earth, and then they draw the line back into us, and then they draw the line back up to the sky. So they make this beautiful like pattern or connection between all of that. So what she's doing is, number one, related to the ascension timeline of the earth and the ascension codes of the earth and how those codes are embedded within us, right? So we have codes embedded with us that are the same codes that are within Mother Earth, that are the same codes within the pyramidal structures, which are the same codes that are ancient archaeology and geometry. And whatever she's doing, it's like there's an energy she creates that helps us refine that space. You know, I don't know if she's an energy healer in this life or she's just creating this
color
consciousness.
Healer, yes.
Okay. So what they put in the middle is this consciousness, right? It's like this beautiful energetic space in the middle that she creates where, you know, people kind of can come into that space, and it's like an alignment that happens, you know, and this is the way it works. This is the way our structure operates. When we want to heal something, when we want to open ourselves to more dimensional information, or we want to bring those timelines what we talked about up into a higher dimension, what she does is she creates this center space, which is a consciousness. And that consciousness holds all of that in integrity. You know, it's like if we want to make this beautiful pattern, this triangular shape like we talked about with the universe, the soul, and Mother Gaia, hers is a circle. And it takes that pyramidal portal into the cosmic earth and brings the earth energies up through her and into the sky. And in the middle, there's this beautiful loving space that people can come into. And they are able to rearrange their structure. It's like aligning everything and putting it back together. And it gives them an opportunity. That's what the guides most want her to know, because there's a teaching aspect of what she's doing. When we have people that come into this space, they have to state an intention, and they have to hold that intention when they walk outside of that space as well. So there's some type of a teaching angle that they're calling her to focus in on to expand what she's doing, right, with her practice.
Micheila, thank you so much for being on. You are much loved in the chat room. They want to have you back.
Oh, I would love to come back. Well, thank you so much for having me.
I'd love to have you back. And if you could just give us some contact information just really quick, we got to close it up.
Yeah, absolutely. You can reach out to me at info@micheilasheldan.com. Again, it's MICHEILASHELDAN. I'm assuming you have that on your website. Sure, email me, friend me on Facebook. I'm happy to connect with you either way. And definitely check out my YouTube channel. There's volumes and volumes of information there.
Oh, yeah, there certainly is. And also you can go to itsyourlifemag.com, and I will have this podcast up later on if you want to refer somebody or send them over. You've been listening to It's Your Life, Live It to the Fullest. I'm Joyce Wheeler. And you've been listening to Ever and Beyond Will Spirit Radio. Show us some love and hit that donate button. Thank you everyone for listening. Thank you, Micheila, for being here.
Thank you.